Hello, everybody. It is Animal Talk, and this is episode 1 of the Animal Talk show, and I'm excited to get things ripped, rocking, and roaring, as they say. You know, this has been on my mind for a long time, and I decided today, what's a better day than today? You know what I'm saying? Gonna keep it a little short, but I got a couple topics I want to talk about, some things that happened this weekend. We'll kind of run through U20s and RAF. And then I want to take a look and a deep dive at the Penn State lineup. This will be a recurring theme as we go through the weeks in each episode. Do Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Nebraska, some of the bigger names, and just kind of run through the list of some of the projections. So thank you, everyone who's been following on Instagram and Facebook, and excited to get this journey going. And let's hop right into it. So this past weekend, we had some exciting news, a historic run by the U20 USA Wrestling team. So they had 4 golds, 3 bronze, and 3 silvers. I know I said that backwards, but that's how it went down. Some notable wins. Bassett gets a U20. Aaron Seidel gets a championship. Aeoden Sinclair. And then also we had Michael Boyle, who had quite the showing, all pins and techs through his run to the championship. Not a name I'm extremely familiar with. I believe he's going to Ohio State, but I just, found that out through this process of his domination, so to speak. So, yeah, it's very exciting to see the future. Like, you kind of saw a little bit last year. You see the Jacks and PJ make the world level team. Now you got all these guys that, are looking to, like, they're going to continue that streak. You have Bassett, who is still going for the senior level. I think his match is sometime in September. It got postponed due to a Real Woods injury, and that is, coming up. So it'll just be a one-off, just that match. But that's going to be exciting, And so you got guys like that are testing for the world team. You got people like Aaron Seidel, had an amazing freshman year last year. And then you got people like Michael Boyle running through it as well. So it's just awesome. So that was all the golds. For silver, you have Jada James, who had a heartbreaking loss in like the final second of the period. And he has looked very, very dominant throughout the tournament. But, he looked like he looked at the clock for a second and kind of lost concentration. And then, boom, there you are. Catches the loss, unfortunately. Drayshawn loses. Isaiah Cortez. And then for the bronze, we have Landon Robideau. And then Jimmy Mastny and Burton getting the bronze. So that's who rounded it out. Just an excellent performance. I'm not sure when the last time we did something like this, but this is just like unprecedented to medal, and 4 golds. I think 4 golds is cool. And then you have all the other hardware that's coming along as well. So it's very, very interesting. So shout out to the U.S. team, U20. Next, let's rock with what happened at RAF. So, man, I was at a wedding, so I was trying to watch all the RAF. I caught up on a little bit on the back end, but just the highlights that I was getting as I was sitting at this wedding, like the Jordan Burroughs flip and then Bo Nickal getting knocked off. So let's kind of rock through the list of what happened this weekend as far as RAF, the top things. So you got Burroughs return against Sean Brady. Seemed a little bit like a warm-up match. Obviously, I think it's been a little bit since he's been on the mat, a couple years. But man, the lack of anything, he had one of the best highlights I've ever seen. And he did that little roll and hopped over. So, man, I'm excited. I think, is this a long shot? Maybe. It sounds like he's comfortable in his own skin right now. But I think everyone is getting a little bit of gist of, will Jordan make a run for 2028? And so, I want to see it. That's selfish. Is it realistic? Who knows? But I think everybody would like to see Jordan just try one more time. He will be 40 years old, 2028. I think he's 38 now. So, he's not getting any younger. That's for sure. And this would definitely be his last try, but who knows? I think selfishly I want to see it, but who knows there. And then you got Cejudo. He gets revenge. Had caught the loss previously to Merab in a pass RAF like 1 or 2 ago, and he made the comeback and pinned him in 36 seconds. He had said before the dual meet, he was like, there's going to be a trilogy. There's going to be a trilogy. So there's probably going to be a trilogy. So I think that it's set up perfectly for that. Caught the first loss, got a very dominant win the second time. Boom, he looks good. Everybody loves Triple C. Raf overall, man, is just like creating stuff that your mind didn't even realize needed to be created. Like, it's just like, man, I saw Burroughs talking to Muggsy, like, let's run a match. Who knows how real that is, but whoever thought in any period of time or any timeline or any bingo card that Jordan Burroughs could potentially wrestle Muggsy. Now, I'm not saying that's realistic, but that was a jokey conversation, and that is something that could happen at RAF, and we've been seeing stuff like that. It's been very exciting. I think I was maybe a little bit of, maybe not a hater, but like I'm a purist. I'm a wrestling purist, and Eric Bischoff is the guy who created the NWO. He is a showman, and he does stuff to show. And as a pure wrestler, I think initially that may have rubbed me the wrong way, but at what point have we been able to see the top level people wrestle on a consistent basis? Like once a month, you get to see cool matches. We got to see Seidel and Snyder. Like it's been a blessing. And shout out to all the people at RAF. I know Izzy's involved and Eric Bischoff. Like beautiful, beautiful things they're doing. And I think, the MMA stuff will probably stay. All those like these crossovers. But I think there will be a little bit more sense of like we're seeing matches like basically like a faux world championship, right? It's like we're seeing like lineups that look like the world finals. I think they're going to get to that point. I'm not sure if that's the 100% goal, but they have definitely worked towards legitimizing these wrestling matches to see matches that us purists want to see, the ones that come like the social media stars, and then also these crossovers with the MMA, Like MMA has been dominated, UFC has been dominated by wrestling, and now you get to see these people. Tyron Woodley wrestled, he was obviously a wrestler before, but MMA, and then now it gives him an opportunity to step back and show what he's still got, make some money, I imagine. So super sweet there. Gable Steveson took out Cassiope 6-0. And then Max takes out Bo Nickal. I love this matchup. Like, who thought of this one? Whoever thought of this one needs a raise, because it's like the guy who did it last year and then the guy who ran the weight class for years. So that was cool. Max gets the only takedown, gets the win 3-2. Very exciting to see. Shout out to Max, Minnesota Max. That's my dog. And then Masa, not folk style, but we got to see him in freestyle against someone that is very good in folk style and took second last year in Ben Davino. So I think that people were hoping to see a little bit more of a separation on the feet from Masa, because now I think this has created a little bit more doubt, because this is the storyline. And we maybe will dive in a little bit deeper when we get into the Penn State stuff. But the storyline is that Masa's only way to win is that if he controls the takedown, he makes a takedown war, because he has an extreme disadvantage on top bottom, not a part of freestyle, totally understandable. So that's the big question. So you would hope the people that are hopeful to see him win a national championship, I think what they wanted to see was a takedown fest, him win, by 10 and, he gets 5 takedowns. Like that would have showed that against, top level NCAA finalists against Davino, that even if that was folk style, he still would have dominated. And we didn't get that. So I think that makes people probably a little bit nervous. I was actually getting ready to get on here yesterday. I was prepping, the show, and I was like, I had this mindset of Masa, blowing people's minds. And I don't think I'm really off that, but this does put a little bit of doubt into things. And it's like, but still he would have went to overtime. In this format. I guess there's the thing that, maybe Davino would have tilted him. Could someone funky like Jax tilt him? How's he going to handle the scrambling? How he's going to handle top and bottom? I think the scrambling for me is not really as much a concern as really bottom. I think bottom is the real concern. Top, I think that, I seen him gut wrench. I seen him gut wrench. I see him work the top. I think that they may be able to create some things for him to maybe get some cheap tilts. I think like something like the Spencer series, the tilt series, I could see him doing that. He is very strong. The guy is built like an ox. And That's another thing. You look at Masa and you're like, everyone knows him for his personality. I think, obviously they know him for wrestling, but one of the things that people really love of him is that he has this kid-like personality. I think he was, 20 years old when he won the world championship. He's running to David Taylor trying to get autographs. So, like, right after he wins, like, jersey swap, like, he has that kind of kid-like personality. But when you see this kid on the mat, geez, man, he is just so powerful. I watched some videos of him and Russia's Yugaev, and that guy's a 4-time world champ. 3 world championships and an Olympic championship, and he dominated. I think it was like 10-1, 10-2, just took it to him, took him down, gutted him. So, like, that told me that Masa was going to be able to dominate on his feet, maybe that plan of dominating his feet. When it comes to bottom, I think that, yeah, obviously he can get turned. You know, I think that's a fear, but we're talking about the greatest collegiate wrestler of all time, and someone at the athleticism of just, like, this is top level, top notch athleticism that Ono has. And you put him together with Cael, come on, man. I think that's awesome. But, you know, that I think is a good segue for the third and last final segment of today. We are going to talk about the Penn State potential lineup. We'll be going through a bunch of different teams throughout the next weeks, all the next episodes. We will be talking about Oklahoma State probably next, because that's an exciting one. And then maybe a little bit down the line, we'll do matchups as well, because I would like to kind of break down what Oklahoma State looks like against Penn State. All right. So Penn State has won 5 in a row. They're looking for their 6th NCAA championship team in a row. Now, they have broken the record the last 2 years. And the big question everybody wants to know, are they going to break the record again? It's looking like they have opportunity, especially when they had some of the rule changes that made it look like Levi was going to be in the lineup. When I saw that, it's like, man, the record looks like it's going to get smashed. I think whoever the replacement is, you know, maybe do a good job. But like that looked like, you know, they maybe would crush this record. Now you got rulings saying that it doesn't look like Levi or Jesse Mendez are going to get back into the lineup. So that has changed a little bit for what we got going on here for the Penn State lineup. But let's still knock it out. We're going to start at 125. Last year's national champ, and that is Luke Lilledahl. I think he's the clear favorite to win this weight class again. Luke is definitely the favorite. There are some very good people in this weight class. I think the interesting piece is 125 has always been super crazy, you know, like very unbalanced, a roller coaster of such. I think there was definitely some things that went funky. You know, you had Mark Anthony McGowan getting in the championship. Like, that's obviously funky there. Like, not a lot of people probably predicted that, even though he is a highly touted wrestler. The way his season went, I don't think people would have predicted that. And like, that still happens, right? But it seems a little bit more stable from like 2 or 3 years ago, where like number 1 loses every week. I think that there's a lot better, higher names in here. Some of those same people that have kind of grown up. You got V-Rob, NCAA champ. He's going to be issued. They've never wrestled, though. So I think that's the one people are excited about. We'll see how that goes. Then we have Spratley, Ventresca, another name. But he might be on a tier island, as they say at Flow Wrestling. He definitely might be on a tier 1 island. Luke Lilledahl, I think, is the heavy favorite. It's going to be interesting to see if he can lock it up again. Probably my pick. It's too close to the season. You know, let me get closer to the end for me to know where I'm going to go. But that's a pretty good educated guess if you ask me. Then this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. You have 133. So I was hearing reports that it was going to be Blaze at 33, Ono at 141. I'm starting to hear opposite now. Now I see a lot of people talking about that Ono is going to go 33 and Blaze is going to go 41. If I had to choose as like strategy-wise, obviously I'm not Cael Sanderson, but if I had to have my pick, I think with the questions about Ono and his folk style, I think that 141 is easier to navigate. So you have Blaze wrestle 33. You got the gauntlet the same gauntlet of last year of Davino, Blaze, Jax, Crookham is in there, and then also Seidel from last year. So very, very interesting. Like, who's going to win? Jax won it last year. Any one of those guys can win. But I think you let Blaze fight that out, as I'm a little bit more confident in Blaze's folk style than Ono. Then at 141, there's probably a couple options. 3 that probably come to mind. You have Braden Davis, you have Nate Desmond, and then you have Ono. I like Ono, man. Like, I want to see the experiment, so to speak. I want to see it happen. Now, Nate Desmond beat Luke Lilledahl last year. Last year's 25 champ. He beat him in a tournament, like an open tournament. So he's very, very good. But Ono's a world champ. I just want to see Ono wrestle. That's really what it comes down to. I want to see him wrestle. I don't want to see him succeed. But they also have Braden Davis, who, he was the number 1 seed at 125 a couple years ago. So they have a couple different options there. We'll see what they go with, what Cael ends up going with. But we'll go from there. We're going to have to wait. All right, the next weight class is Shayne Van Ness at 149. Now, this is someone that's been knocking on the door. 2/3 and a second in the NCAAs, had a redshirt in between there, and is now going for his last and final season. So, this is somebody who can win it. He can definitely win it, but this has got to be the gauntlet of all weight classes coming up. It's going to be very, very interesting this year at 149. Now, 149 you got Sergio, Aeden, Caleb, 3 former NCAA champions, plus Shayne Van Ness, who's been a top dog for several years. So any of those 4 people, I think, could win NCAAs for sure. So it's going to be a gauntlet there. Will this be Shayne Van Ness's year? That is the question. I think that's what everybody is looking to see. But this next weight class is another one that people are talking heavily, heavily about, and that is 157. Now, Tyler Casack and PJ Duke, both dogs. This is probably the best problem you could have. Penn State seems to always have very favorable problems. But PJ Duke, I think, is the favorite to start. But Casack, the year that he wrestled 2 years ago, he was the number 1 seed. He was the odds-on favorite to win NCAAs that year. It was a bit shocking that he lost. He had a very, very impressive year. So this is a tough call, but I think it's PJ, man. Unless the only way, as I hear a lot of people saying PJ is struggling making 57. And there transitions to 165. Now, I think 165 is Mitchell Mesenbrink's weight. I don't know if it's his call, who's going to make the call, but it sounds like possibly transitioning him could be good for a couple of reasons. Now, especially now that 174 is back open. When Levi came back, it was like closing some doors. But so 65, if Mitchell moves up to 74, PJ could slide in. Also, another option could be Jaden James sliding in. So, and PJ staying down. So, very interesting. There's 4 people at 3 weights. One of them is a lock in Mesenbrink, but the other ones seem to be adjustable. So, it's going to be interesting, man. These are some great problems. You got, I think both Tyler Casack or PJ Duke can win the national championship this year. So, that makes things very interesting. And then, so Mesenbrink, we talked about at 65. 74, we have no more Levi. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to be Jaden James. Jaden just took second in the World Championships this weekend at U20s. I think it's maybe a little small for the weight, but that seems to be where he's going to fall in. So then you have 84, Rocco. Now, I'm not going to lie. Secretly, last year, 184 was probably my favorite weight. Yes, was it slightly boring? Yes, did it always go to overtime? Part of the reason why I liked it. But 184 to me was pretty exciting. It was like, if you enjoy the chess match, it's like in football. If you're a defensive guy, if you like to see good defense, because I won't lie, I was hating on Rocco a little bit. I'm like, this guy's a little boring. Then I started really paying attention. I'm like, what he is doing defensively is a masterclass. So he took second last year. He took second 2 years before that. Had redshirted in between. I like him. I don't know if I think it's neck and neck between 4 guys, just like it was last year. Maybe a couple other names. That's the one thing, 1 and 8 would go to overtime last year. They're all kind of close, but I think there is definitely a separation of the top 4 being Max, Angelo, Rocco, and Sinclair. Sinclair just won a world championship this weekend. So any four of these guys can win it. I think that Rocco could definitely win it. And I love his defense. So 197, Josh Barr. Next topic. No, I'm just kidding. I think that Josh, besides maybe Mitchell, who's obviously like the Hodge front runner, I think that Barr is right there. And I think that the field seemed to thin out a little bit. Yes, the NCAA finalist, Cody Merrill, is back there, but I didn't feel like Barr was ever in actual real danger to lose that match. I think he repeats again. I think that's like pretty, I think if it was a betting game, people would be betting for Barr or Mitchell in terms of guaranteed championship. So this next one is also interesting. You got the Mirasolas, and I'm hearing that they're switching. One on the bench, and the other one's starting. I think it's Cole, they're saying it's going to start. Connor's the one that's been starting. I don't know. I really don't know that situation. I would love to hear more of like what that scenario and why I even rumor like that's been swirling. That's been seemingly like a pretty confident response. Like I've seen it on multiple networks that people think that Cole is starting this year. And if I'm not wrong, I feel like Cole had maybe even higher credentials. I would love like put that in the comment. But I feel like one took second and then like the other one took first or something like that. It was Cole. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's interesting that they're talking about the switch, and this weight is a coin flip. It has cleared out. All the big names have cleared out. Trumbull, Younger, Ferrari. I think the headliners this year are probably, I think Mirasola is definitely in the mix in the conversation, but I think that Drayshawn is a threat. Kobe Merrill is a threat, and then the old guns is Keeter and Feldman. So those are the four that I would say on the top. And then like Mirasola, I think is right in that department as well. Could be kind of interchangeable. I think he beat Keeter last year. So, but then I want to say that Keeter got him back at NCAAs or something like that because Connor did not place. But like I said, I think it's going to be Cole. So that's all I have today. Want to keep it short, sweet, get the rotation down. But I appreciate you guys watching the first episode. Several more to come. We're gonna get some bits involved. We're gonna get some things that we're gonna be doing, but I just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off and just get rocking right away. So love you guys. Shout out to the Animal Kingdom, baby. Maybe we'll keep that.